In at number 10, we have got the Snowowl, and in my personal opinion, I really like the model of this creature, and I like the way that this kind of metallic elementy element, because obviously the resource element in the Ark game, it fades in so nicely with this creature, because it's not just your generic natural Snowowl. Around its claws and around its face, you'll find some extra element style things to do with obviously the resource, again, not as in just an element of a creature, but it is again an element of an element. A little bit of a mix up of words there, but also this creature is very packed with abilities. Personally though, obviously this isn't just a list about the best creatures, it's the best looking list. I think this looks significantly nicer than a creature like the RG and even something like the Desmodus. While yeah, that is a really nice model, it is a little bit of an ugly creature. Not that ugly creatures can't make it on this list, because there is definitely some merit to some really great model design. I just think this really does have it, and the way it's animated as well really does just benefit this creature for what it is, what it does, and kind of what it stands for as a creature. Next up, we have got the Blood Stalker, and this creature, although most people probably don't like spiders, it really does just kind of work for me in terms of this creature. Like, I like the spider design from it. It seems to go really nicely with this creature, which again benefits its model design and its looks, and it really just, it makes it such an immersive creature with me, especially when considering the original biome that this thing came out on, being the bog biome on Gen 1. It just fits so perfectly with its environment and obviously the map that it was originally released on, and that really does play to a good looking creature if it fits in with its environment very well. And it kind of sort of majestically, once done properly, moves across the map and also underwater as well. It is a really great underwater swimmer. My favourite underwater creature actually, without fail. No questions asked. It really does just have that element to it of being a really greatly designed creature, and the way all of its limbs move and are animated, it really is something to look up on. Because like, yeah, people might say a horse is hard to animate, but actually, how hard is a Bloodstalker to animate? Because I actually want to know the answer to that. Next up, we have got the Astrocetus, and who really doesn't like the look of a massive space whale? That is what Astrocetus means, if you didn't know that already. And this thing just packs loads of a punch in its abilities, but just the way it's moved, and again, the way it's animated, sorry, I'm missing words out for some reason. Just like all of that in general really does just play in this thing being such a great creature for you to have, and a great creature for you to wield in your daily Ark life. But again, like compared to something like the Titanosaur and the mech and all of that, I think this just looks better, although I will give them a little bit of a mention, because big creatures kind of do have a somewhat special spot, because they tend to look more impressive as there's a lot more mass to them. And with a creature like the Astrocetus, there really is a lot of mass to it. As you can probably tell, it moves somewhat slowly in just general of how fast its animation speed is. You can tell this thing is really big and beefy. In at number 7, we have got the Sarcus, and this kind of just looks like the Daedon on steroids. I know they're not really used for the same thing, but still, this creature really does look the part when it comes to a just general creature. And with its saddle literally having a gun on it, it really does make it a nicer looking creature. Not to say that this is the prettiest creature, because it definitely isn't, but when you look at those teeth, that's what I really should say, not that teeth. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, when I look at those, there's so much detail in this model, and the way it's animated as well. I know I'm talking about this a lot, but that really does play a huge part in this creature as well, and just how good it is. Like, maybe it's not the best animated creature. With its jump, it looks slightly unrealistic, but that's probably more just the general bugs of the Ark game than the actual creature, because Ark tends to be a little bit iffy sometimes. Next up, we have got the Deinonychus, and it just really is just a perfect looking small carnivore to me, on top of being one of the most useful creatures in the Ark game. Like, you really see power and just a general carnivorous, mischievous look from this creature. You can tell that This creature packs a punch even though it doesn't have the biggest size. Also, its feathers all are really nice and they mesh very well with the model, and they really fit with the character of the Deinonychus, because this obviously wouldn't work for every Ark creature, and it looks very pleasing in the way it's textured, and the color zones on this creature are really nice. And I really like this blue color actually, with it kind of goes a little bit lighter on the tips as well, and then you've got that gray. It really does look the part, and you can get so many different colors of Deinonychus. Like you can see there's a kind of oranginess to that one there. Personally, I'm going to go for more of a blue color like this one here, maybe possibly a little bit lighter than this one, but in all honesty, that red did look pretty nice before it got demolished by me, because the Deinonychus is pretty OP. It has the pack buff, it can parkour around everywhere, it doesn't take damage buff. But I also do want to know down in the comments below, what is your favourite colour of Deinonychus, or just your favourite colour for a general dino to have, as, you know, I'm sure you all do have some kind of preference. In at number 5 we got the Giga, and I'll chuck the Crocodonsaurus here too. They're kind of on a pretty similar level. They're just really big buff carnivores that pack a huge punch, and their model design really does look the part. But the reason why I'm putting the Giga here instead of the Crocodonsaurus is it kind of came out before, so it has a more original idea to it, because obviously it was kind of more of the first. And I know, yeah, in like facial shape and all of that, the Crocodonsaurus and the Giga are pretty different, but in a lot of ways they're also pretty similar as well. But overall I do prefer the Crocodonsaurus as a creature. Maybe it's just nostalgia playing with me here, but I personally think the Giga is just a better looking carnivore, especially considering the animations of the Crocodonsaurus looks a little bit goofy, where the Giga still stands very strong and proud, and it really is just an absolute huge hunking beast, and its animations show that as well. The Crocodonsaurus just a little bit goofy and a little bit silly in terms of the animations. For me, I kind of feel like that with the new Ark characters though as well. It's just a general style of games these days. It tends to be that the animations are just kind of quicker, or in some way more goofy, and that's general game style at the moment. Have you noticed that as well? Because like with Battlefield 2042, the animations are so different from Battlefield 5. Personally, prefer things from like Battlefield 5, Battlefield 1. I know I'm kind of going off topic with Ark, but you know, I definitely see it between ASC and ASA as well. Next up, we have got the Rock Drake, and this creature kind of had to be here. Like you look at it, and it is just like sort of a wyvern on steroids, but I guess I'll give the wyvern a brief mention here as well. Definitely some really great looking creatures, but I think the Rock Drake excels more in terms of looks, and that's obviously why it's on the list instead of the wyvern. Pretty self-explanatory when you think of all of that and you think of why I put this thing on the list. It made it on the list, the wyverns didn't, so that's that. Either way, the Rock Drake really does fit well with its map and its environment, and on Arboration it is pretty much the go-to, if not just basically the only creature for really efficient travel on the map. Sadly, it doesn't work the best on all other maps, and it tends to not respawn on any other maps. I'm not really sure if it does. I always go to Arboration to get one, because that's just where my instinct is. But you could get them on Crystal Isles before the official version came out, but when it was just a mod. Rock Drake should exist on the map. Maybe they should return, maybe they shouldn't. What do you think when Crystal Isles releases on ASA? Should we have Rock Drakes in it, or should we not have Rock Drakes in it? Leave your thoughts down in the comments below. I know I'm giving you a lot to comment about in this video, but still, I really do want to know your opinions on everything, because I want to know what you think of everything, and then maybe at some point I can even give you a spot to make essentially your own top 10 for the channel, because I'm thinking of doing that. And also, again, what do you think of that? Comment your thoughts down below. At number 3, we have got the Rhino Gatha, and although I hate this creature because I think it really unbalances the Ark game, not saying that this creature is terrible by no means. It is a really good creature with so many abilities, and loads of Ark players are really liking it. Personally, for me, I prefer the more primitive balanced creatures. It kind of feels like the Rhino Gatha breaks the game a bit, but that is just where Ark is kind of going. It just gets gradually more and more OP, and the older maps they end up just getting filled with OP creatures from other maps, and then it becomes very unbalanced. But hey ho, that's how it works. Either way, I think the Rhino Gatha does look really cool. I like its model. When I was looking at its concept art, I thought it was a really great creature, and it's worthy to be an Ark. I'm not saying it shouldn't be an Ark. Just personally, I would nerf it but that's from my view. I come from a more primitive time of Ark. I've been around for absolutely ages in this game, and I know people like maybe want a bit of an easier experience or just an even more OP creature to just have fun and mess around with and raid bases with and just pick up Rexes with and do all of that. Yes, it's a really useful creature with so many people really enjoying it because obviously it's just making everything easier for them and really convenient, which is nice, and that is a really great thing for a creature to do. But I also do want to know your thoughts on the Rhino Gatha. Are you more like me, where you're just like, yep, I know it's a really great creature, but personally I think it's too OP and it makes the game unbalanced? Are you just completely for the Rhino Gatha and just like, no, this thing is great, it's perfectly balanced with the game, it doesn't need anything? Or are you just completely anti-Rhino Gatha and you hate this creature? Because, you know, you could sway all three ways, really. There's a lot of arguments for both sides, and I kind of want to know your opinions down below on this creature, because personally, not the fondest, but again, I do admit it is a really great creature with loads of great abilities and it makes everything easier. Just, it's mainly the balancing which doesn't really sit right with me. In at number 2, we have got the Shadowman, and this creature is just, it really does look the part. It might even look even better if it had a saddle. Personally, I prefer these things in more purpley blue colours than this colour which I've got here, but you know, hey ho, that's just the B-roll that was recorded for the Shadowman. That was just the colour of the Shadowman that I spawned in. Personally, that purpley blue really, just the part with like the blue flecks on the feathers. I know they're not really technically feathers, but they're listed as feathers in the models file, so I'm just going to call them feathers. And yet these creatures really do fit into their map very well, which again, I've said so many times, really does make them better looking creatures. It's a kind of new inventive design and take on a creature that we've already seen, because it's very much like creatures such as the Thyla, which it's quite similar to this in a lot of ways, but this is just a more OP upgraded version. It is slightly smaller, it's kind of saber-tooth like as well, but it's a lionfish line. It's really great in the water. Its only real downside is its taming method is an absolute pain, and I really do not like it. In at number 1, we have got the Reaper, and personally I think this is the best looking Ark creature of the bunch. It just fits into its environment so perfectly. Its taming method is so inventive for just what it stands for and what it is as a creature, and also on top of all of that, it works with all of its abilities. Yes, maybe the Reaper Queen has a slightly better second attack than the Reaper King, but still, I think it really does work as a perfect creature. And on Gen 2, it's a really nice one to have as well, because obviously you've got the R Reaper. It just adds even more, and it's actually a pretty easy tame, as the way you can tame it is like an absolute cheat on that map. But as most things go when new maps release, isn't it? You can really just make everything sort of easier, but Gen 2's a very big outlier to that, because Gen 2 is just such an OP map compared to like so many other things. But the way that you kind of tame this creature is pretty much exactly like how the aliens emerge out of people in the film Alien, which again, it does hugely reference that film, and obviously these things wouldn't have been in the game without that film existing. And I really like the reference, and it really fits with the Aberrant theme. It just really works well as a creature in this style. Its attacks are great, its taming method is very well thought through. I really like this creature, and personally I think it's the best looking one out there. But anyway, that is the end of today's video, and I really hope that you enjoyed. As always, comment down below what is the best looking Ark Tames and what do you think of all the ideas I've shared in this video. If you didn't agree, put your top 10 down below, and I will see you all later.